Hello, fam. So I've been very intrigued by stress. And it's just something that I realized that a lot of us are, especially in that live in metropolitan cities, we are constantly in a state of stress and we don't even realize it because it's our natural baseline. And it's something that I've definitely been guilty before. And so I've been very intrigued by it. And I just went down this rabbit hole. I think when I get really interested in something, I just kind of dive right in. And I've been going down this research bubble, rabbit hole of the fascinating relationship among our brain, our gut, and our spirit. And I've noticed actually a lot of my clients and my circle of influence also have been, all of a sudden much more interested in the impacts of stress and this mind body connection that is less of a connection, but more actually of a very strong, intimate relationship. And a lot of people that I've shared my learnings with have actually benefited from it. So a lot of them have motivated me to say, hey, put it out there, condense everything that you've learned into an episode. So that's what sparked this episode. So in this episode, we're going to deep dive on stress, our mind, gut health, sleep, circadian rhythm, and most importantly is how they all come together so that we can create a state of being unstressed or ease and calm, which is what our bodies naturally gravitate toward. That's what we're born with. And so here are the key takeaways from the findings that I've had in the past couple of weeks, about a month that I've spent time on this. And the four areas we're going to deep dive on is one, why we even stress. What's the point of stress? Secondly, is helpful facts about stress. Third is let's talk about our happy chemicals because happy chemicals is how we counterbalance the stress. And lastly is obviously I'm really big on this solutions. I'm always about solutions and not focusing on the problem. So what are the solutions to staying unstressed? So let's dive right in. Why we stress. So I kind of mentioned it in this, modern city life. Stress has become a badge of honor. It's a status symbol, and in a way, stress makes us feel needed and wanted, and it's important to be busy, right? Or we constantly put ourselves in a state of stress because we're adding more to our plate and we're kind of filling ourselves to the brim because we actually don't want to sit alone with ourselves and listen to our inner thoughts. Because if you sit with yourself and you're living a very misaligned life, it's extremely comfortable because in silence, all the things that are not right, that are misaligned in your life, they come out. You're in the wrong relationship, you're in the wrong job, you don't really have a healthy lifestyle, you're not genuinely happy where you're at. So oftentimes it's easier just to keep numbing and putting more on the plate so we don't have to deal with those emotions. Yet we don't know how this buildup actually affects us. The other thing is we're also very used to stress. Like I mentioned, I remember I was I was 24 or 25. I went to the doctor and just for a normal checkup. And I'm very, on time with it. And I've gone to the same doctor for God, I don't know, years now. And she would always say, she's like, Jess, you're like always just so stressed. You're glued to the phone. She's like, even in our doctor's appointment, you literally cannot put down your phone. And at the time, I'm like, what do you mean? Is this so normal for our industry? Like everyone's always like packing their schedule. Everyone's always anxious. This is normal, right? And thankfully, that happened to me young. I also got shingles when I was like 25 or 26. And for those of you who are not familiar, you only get shingles normally when you're like 50 plus, when you're older. And it comes out when younger, when you're very stressed. And I was very thankful for that because it forced me to say to myself, I will never put anything before my health. And that was the wake up call that I had. But I share that because, I mean, for most of us, living in a constant state of stress is normal, right? But it's actually not natural. And because we're so used to it, there's also an element of loss aversion. So, aversion, just as a refresher, is as humans, we actually are more afraid of losing what we have than the potential of gaining something new or something good for us, right? So, I forgot the exact ratio, but like you need X amount of time of something, the potential of getting something new in order for you to want to release the old, even if it's hurting you, right? So this loss aversion also causes us to say, well, I'm so used to working or like pumping out product at like 150%. And if I'm so used to that and I'm scared that if I don't pump out 150%, I'm not gonna, make the money. I'm not gonna be able to get promoted. I'm not gonna be feel enough or feel like, I'm worthy. So we default again to what we know, which is overdoing, over functioning, and obviously overstressing our bodies, right? So again, we stick to stress. So again, these are just kind of three, I would say, high level reasons as to why we stress, but we don't know how deeply stress hurts us and oftentimes too late, which is why let's not wait till it's too late, right? Present day, here's a fun fact, kind of scary, but good to know. Present day, we put our bodies through more stress than our ancestors have ever gone through physical danger. Why is that? Nowadays, we have all types of derivatives of stress, right? There's fear, there's worry, there's anxiousness, there's burnout, there's panic, right? There's flashbacks, there's flash forwards, there's what if, I should have. And it's a constant state of stress that are what? Created mostly by our thoughts. It's mostly by our thoughts. And the thing about our body is our body can't tell the difference between we're actually going through a real life danger, like a tiger's chasing us, or it's just you creating things in your mind. Your body can't tell the difference. So your body actually goes through the same amount of stress when you're putting yourself through these very stressful thoughts, whether you're thinking about the past, how you feel like I should have did something different, or you're anxious about the future, right? So we have been taught, especially in Western society, to overuse and over prioritize our brain. Okay. Like we're told like IQ is the most important, over rationalize everything, overthink everything. But our brain's not always right. If you can think about, there's many times when your brain gives you like contrary thoughts, right? That like actually don't add up. Like for example, oh, say someone asks you out, right? You're like, oh, I should be more open. I should go, but like, I don't really want to. I might be a little bit wasting my time. There's always this contradictory thoughts, right? Why is that? It's because your brain is not always right. So let me give you a scenario. Say you're having a conversation with your friend, right? Say you're having a conversation with a friend, you're out with your friends, and it's a conversation, right? Like she shares ideas with you and you share ideas with her. It's a dialogue, right? Why is it a dialogue? Because your friend is one entity and you are another entity. In order to communicate, there has to be some sort of dialogue between you two, right? So these thoughts that come into your brain, think of these thoughts as if their own entity, right? If your brain was you, you wouldn't have to communicate via thoughts with your brain. You would just automatically think those things, right? You wouldn't have a dialogue. So the fact that you're constantly having inner dialogues just shows you your brain is just another entity, another tool to help you make decisions, but it is not you, right? So I would always say, think of your brain as it's your COO. But you yourself, like your consciousness, right? You or who you are at your deepest, you're the owner. You're the boss, right? You're the one that should dictate your brain to be the COO and dictate what you want it to do. So our brain actually does what it one keeps us alive, doesn't want to help us thrive, just want to keep us alive. That's why it's always looking for like, worst case scenario fear, just trying to keep you alive. Or your brain's job is to do what you tell it to. So whenever you have a lot of these spiraling thoughts, right? Ask yourself, and we'll have some steps later on too for the solutions, but make sure these thoughts are productive and serving you, and tell your brain what you want it to do. Tell your brain what you want it to focus on because it will listen. It's your COO. All right. Now let's go into some helpful facts about stress because knowledge is key, right? You got to know things before you can apply it. So let's learn and understand some really important things about stress. So a sympathetic state is when your body's in fight or flight mode, right? And a sympathetic state, because you're fight or flight, your body's getting ready for a very strenuous or like stressful activity. It actually infuses your body with CRH as well as other chemicals to make your body be on full alert, right? Like it's think of like a tiger's chasing you, right? Your body naturally goes to the point where you're just in defensive and protective and just survival mode, right? Um, the, this state makes us superhuman, right? If you think about a lot of times people do stress, all of a sudden you gain a lot of strength. All of a sudden you have very laser focused way of thinking. Or all of a sudden, like you all certain like your vision, there's certain things that you're experiencing gets more enhanced, right? So you're superhuman during this kind of sympathetic flight or fight state. The problem is staying in a state of stress is so bad for your body, right? Our body can sustain sympathetic state when it's necessary for like bursts of duration, but we cannot overuse and overextend our stay in the state. Okay, so let's talk about why, right? When we're stressed, when we're anxious, it also applies to when we're depressed. All our energy is placed on high alert, survival mode. So our digestive system is put in second place. Okay. That's not our priority at the time. The priority is just keep us alive. When that's the case, our vital organs, like our liver and our kidney, they're not being fed, right? They're not being, the nutrients are not going to it. And another scary part is also our microbiome, which is extremely important. And microbiome basically, we can dive deeper into it. Microbiome is all over your body, but a lot of it lives in your gut. We'll talk more about the gut and mind body. So the gut and brain connection a little bit later. But stress also, because it affects your digestive system, it also affects your microbiome. Okay. And then your ability to digest, send food to other organs, extremely, extremely important. Your digestive system basically runs a lot of the show in your body. And there's a strong, strong connection between your digestive system, your gut, and your brain. All right, we'll get into that. So when you're in this sympathetic state, this flight or fight mode, right? These stress chemicals that were flushing your body to keep you superhuman, they can actually get flushed out of your like your body in 90 seconds. That's how fast it takes that for it to get out, right? Well, the problem is most of us, we keep that feeling alive. And by reliving it, not letting that emotion be fully felt, like that fear be fully felt, and then releasing it, right? So the issue is we, again, this 90 seconds gets extended because we keep reliving it. We don't process the emotion that we feel it through. And that's the core issue. And that's what we're going to talk about today about how to release the stress that's built in, right? Rethinking our problems over and over again, that flight or fight, you think bad about, a really bad argument or a breakup or a time that you had a very traumatic event, like you constantly reliving it. It's kind of scary, but it's helpful and good to know. It shows you the power of your mind. There's no amount of diet and exercise that can undo the stress and the toxins you pour in your body by reliving these negative memories. Very powerful, right? Because your body needs to be in a calm ease state, which is parasympathetic. So sympathetic is flight or fight. Parasympathetic is more ease and calm. Your body needs to be in ease and calm in order to heal and replenish itself, right? So it's extremely, extremely important to remember every time you rethink about your problems or rethink things that happened in the past, or you're anxious about the future, you're literally flooding your body with toxins through that fear, right? The good news is a manageable amount of stress and duration, as we mentioned, like shaking things off, is actually really good for us. It motivates us. It really encourages us to go after the things that we want. It gives us, again, that superhuman ability, and it actually promotes growth and also learning from what you kind of went through, right? So let's go through some really helpful stats. 91 of us percent of us will face trauma at some point of our life, okay? And we define trauma as intense stress, too much of it and too fast of it. That's trauma, okay? Kind of compacted. 91% of us in our lifetime will experience trauma, okay? Or extreme stress in a short duration. 93% of us will recover in 3 months, okay? And 96% of us will recover in 6 months and even gain post traumatic growth. Okay. So, again, our ability to go through it, handle it, process it, feel it, and then shake it off is actually really good for us. And that's what makes us stronger. Okay. And smarter going forward. So, with that said, how are some things that we can handle stressful situations that come up, right? So, say the next time even before you encounter such a situation or you're about to go into a stressful situation, I want you to consider this, okay? If you have time to stress, you're actually safe. Why is that? If there was a tiger chasing you and you were physically in danger, you would have no time to stress. Okay. Your body would just go straight to sympathetic, fight or flight, and on survival mode. So the fact that you feel any derivatives of stress, it could be anxiety, it could be any of it, it just shows you that you're actually physically safe. And you have the luxury to feel the stress, which means you have the luxury to think through solutions, right? And I'll give you some ideas. So next time you feel stress coming, a stressful thought comes to you, think of stress as a fire alarm. Okay. So when there's a fire alarm in the building, you take it seriously, right? You do through the protocols, you run through like all the things that you know that you should do. And even if it's nothing is wrong in the building, you still follow the protocol and then you go back to your normal day. So next time you feel stressed, I want you to ask yourself this. One is this stressful thought true? Okay. If it's true, you should think immediately of solutions or a plan of how to tackle it, right? Because sitting there stressing over something that is true and constantly looping it, you're just hurting yourself and you're not really fixing the problem. So when the stress is true, think of either, okay, what's the plan? Kind of like the protocol of a fire alarm. What's a plan to fix whatever's stressing you, or handle it immediately, right? The second thing, which is most of the time, if it's not true, drop the thought. Focus on replace that thought with something that's actually true or more positive, right? So I'll give you an example. Same example, say you're going on a date, going to I don't know, third date, and you really like this girl, right? Your brain might think, oh my God, is she, the past few dates never really worked out. Is this gonna happen again? Where like, she ultimately ghosts me, right? Or, oh, she may not be as into as I am. And you have these like negative thoughts, right? Instead of that, which we don't know what's true or not, right? We don't know if she's gonna do that. Why don't you focus on going on the date, you think, I'm going to have an amazing time. I'm going to get to know a wonderful human. Obviously, I like her if I'm going on a third date. And I'm open to whatever best outcome for me and for her, right? If it's someone that I'm meant to be with, I'm going to be with. I'm not going to stress about it. If it's someone that's I'm not supposed to be with, I'm not aligned with, they're going to naturally be removed out of my life romantically. So every time you have a stressful thought that's not true, or you're not sure it's true, replace it with something better because your thoughts can heal or your thoughts can inflict pain. So why don't we choose positive thoughts that actually can heal us, right? Another really powerful fact that's helpful to know about stress, and I really encourage you guys to read the book, The Body Keeps Score, if you're really interested in diving deeper about this. But if you have gone through a stressful event, you have to fully feel the emotions in order to heal it. So, your body, when you go through a traumatic event, oftentimes we don't fully process it, right? we kind of, okay, it was too painful. I want to move on. I don't want to like, finish that emotion. Well, the problem is your body, just your emotions just want to be seen. They just want to be felt, right? And the only way to let that emotion out of your body is to fully give it space to be felt. And so stress, because stress is actually caused when you're flight or fight mode, it's actually trapped in your nervous system, right? It causes that alarm bell on. Because stress is felt in the body, it has to be healed in the body. You can't really rationalize your way through it. That's why a lot of like when you've gone through a very stressful event, it's helpful to think, or like I would say rescript the situation. It's helpful to be like, okay, well, these are all good things I've gotten out of it, or it's what I've learned from it. You're very much using your brain to logic it through. But until you let your body really feel through that whole emotion and that whole cycle, it won't leave your body. So something to really think about. And there's so many different ways to kind of feel through your emotions. You can obviously work with a practitioner, you can work with a coach, work with therapists. There's somatic exercise you can do, somatic yoga. You can, there's also ways you can just sit with yourself and let yourself reprocess those emotions and really feel it, have a good cry. If the emotion is like anger or sadness, but just remember that just like you are not your thoughts, you are also not your emotions. So when you kind of go through that painful memory and you kind of let yourself release the emotions, remember, you are not a sad person. You're not a depressed person. You're just feeling sad. That's why it's very important to look at your thoughts. Remember how as a separate entity, look at your feelings as also a separate entity, and give it space, give it the respect that it needs, right? Because our feelings are there to honestly protect us, right? To tell us when some things is good, when things are not good, when we feel like our boundaries are caught crossed. I highly recommend for those of you who are new to this world, like really look and research into like what each emotion is actually trying to tell us within our body and with ourselves. Like for example, when you feel anger, right? It's not a bad emotion. It's you feel angry because maybe your boundaries are crossed. Maybe something was unjustly done to you, right? So again, it's a way to protect you. I would say honor your emotions, and there's no such thing as a bad emotion, right? Like sadness is not bad. When you go through things in life, sadness is a way for you to release a lot of like tension in your body that you've gone through. So think of your emotions as again a separate entity, and be very thoughtful, and even like like Google it, or I would say even ask yourself, like ask your body, say to every part and say like, you know, body or self, what is this anger trying to show me? And really listen to your body, listen to the thoughts that come into your mind, because your emotions just want to be felt until you feel them, they won't go away. So that's something to really think about when it comes to stress. Let it process it through your body. I know a lot of us love caffeine, and I've been so guilty of this where I haven't slept well. I have so much to do. I'm super stressed. I was like, screw it. I need like this power kicker. Let me like just dose up on caffeine. Caffeine actually makes us do more of what's already stressing our body. So, have you ever experienced it? I've definitely experienced this. I remember in college, I freaking hated FSA, financial statement analysis, accounting class. Ugh, hated it with all my passion. And it was finals, the finals week. And I really was like, I just need to push my body to just read cover to cover, take every practice exam. So I decided to take a Red Bull. And I normally don't do Red Bull. I literally was shaking. I took it the night before to study, didn't sleep, shaking during the test. I literally, there was like no absorption of like the material. It was rote memorization. So, of course, that was like my first, I think, B plus I've ever gotten. I cried my heart out. Those were the days. But yeah, it was not productive. And so caffeine just kind of gets you, it doesn't always get you to focus. It just gets you to be hyper vigilant with energy. And it actually makes us do more of what stresses us out. So when you're already stressed out and you haven't slept a lot, caffeine isn't the answer. It's going to make things worse. So just be mindful of that. Um, and I kind of highlighted this, but remember that every thought, and I would also introduce every feeling, is clocked by our body. Our body listens to every thought and every emotion that we have. All right. You can literally turn on stress with your thoughts and your emotions. And remember that it's not exactly the event that always stresses you out, it's the way you see it or the meaning behind it, right? Like if someone cut you off in traffic, you could be like, oh, that guy's an a hole. He ruined my day. Like, why did he have to ruin my day? Or it could be like, that guy maybe had an emergency. Maybe he needed just a little bit more grace. So when you go through sometimes like undesirable events, you just have to really believe that everything is happening for you, not to you. Okay. Everything is serving you for highest good. There are seasons when you just have to go through challenges because it's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you better. You're going to learn from it, right? You don't grow when you're comfortable, right? And there's seasons when you can just enjoy and be in bliss, but just know that everything's always happening for you, and be careful of the meaning you give to everything that happens to you, right? I'm not a big fan of looking at everything in rose-colored glasses, right? There are times when you need to set boundaries, and there's times when, certain things and events and people don't deserve your energy, and you need to remove yourself. But when things happen to you, think about what is the highest way you can give that event meaning and how it's going to serve you and your future. Okay, so be mindful of your thoughts in that way, because your thoughts, again, can either make you sick or healthy. So why not have a healthy, happy, loving inner self dialogue with yourself? Okay. That's why it's also really important to, again, I kind of highlight, but like having the power of faith, of positive energy. It's not, and having a positive mindset, it's not woo woo. Like it's literally what creates not only like obviously externally opportunities for you, and it opens up doors for you, but it's how you keep your body healthy, right? So think about like your thoughts, your emotions are like this pharmacy within your body that either can create more healing, create more ease and calm so your body can rejuvenate, or it can cause distress and turmoil, and your body's like constantly just fighting off internal wars, right? Again, on your thoughts, on your emotions. One thing that I really love about there's a Taoist saying about the body is the body is a process, not an entity. Beautiful, right? So think about it. Our cells rejuvenate, they turn over, they grow, they die regularly. So they're all processes. What is the beautiful thing about that? Processes can be changed. Processes can be upgraded, right? It's not a snag where bodies are not stagnant. So with that said, like if you treat your body well, and we'll walk through some of like the de-stressor solutions, but when you treat your body well, you have healthy thoughts, you have healthy emotions, you let yourself process all the emotions, you're actually constantly able to upgrade your body and your system. So that is something that we definitely want to start implementing and starting today. And now that we kind of have these basic facts about stress, let's talk about happy memories. I mean, happy chemicals. Okay. So babies, when you're born, we're in a natural state of ease and calm. We're naturally happy. That's how we were born and created onto earth, right? That's our natural state. Fear is an outside, it created once we interact with the outside world. Fear and all these more negative emotions that are not at the highest state, they're all because of external world or interactions with the external world, right? So we are born happy. It's really our head that we have to find a reason to be unhappy, right? Which is why, and I share this because when you know your natural state is joy, every time you're not in joy or you're not following your joy, you're putting your body off balance, off homeostasis, right? You're not meant to stress your way through life. You're not meant to suffer through your life. That's whatever we've been told. It's brainwashing, right? Babies come out, they're happy, they follow their joy. Like even toddlers, if they like something, they just walk up to it. I remember I was in Tulum in a supermarket, and there's this little girl, super happy, I don't know, maybe a couple of years old, in a shopping cart. She sees my sister and I, and she just goes and like grabs us, like touches us in a very sweet, playful way. As adults, we don't do that, right? Like, oh, we're trained, don't touch people, and to a point, good reason. But I share the story because kids, when they like something, they want to interact, they want to play, they just go for it. There's just a natural happy state to them. So remember that whenever you feel a little off, like It's just something off within your body, your mindset, what you're going through that's actually telling you, hey, warning, let's get back to the joy. Okay. So let's reconnect and align with our happy chemicals in our body that we produce regularly and we can also produce more of. First is let's talk about serotonin. And it's a little bit underrated because serotonin is actually associated with long term, sustainable happiness, calmness, and focus. Okay. It's the thing that makes you feel at ease and calm and joyful in a long term state. Okay. And also, the thing about serotonin is 95% of serotonin's actually produced in the gut, not the brain, right? So you can really eat your way into happiness or depression. Again, you based on our bodies of processes, or based on what you fuel it with, what you put nutrients in your body, you're either creating concoctions of happiness or joy from simply what you're eating. Very powerful. So eating your way to happiness, some of the foods that have serotonin, that boost serotonin, and obviously it depends on like your body type, what works for you. But generally speaking, salmon, turkey, pineapples, eggs, dark leafy greens like spinach, sauerkraut, and natural probiotics and seeds all can help boost serotonin, right? So do a little bit of self-research, work with I would say a nutritionist, work with your doctor on like what is actually good for you in order to produce more serotonin, because you can eat your way to being happy. That's good news, right? The second happy hormone is dopamine, and that's the overrated happy hormone. I'll get to why. So dopamine is more focused on temporary pleasure. It's more of a reward system and it motivates us, right? It's a way to, when we get a hit, we want more. And so there's a little bit of not taboo, but we have to be mindful of, because when you get a little dose of dopamine, you want more, right? And it requires more units to get the same high, which makes it addictive. Just be mindful of that. So I'll share some activities that boost serotonin and then dopamine. Serotonin, some activities that boost is aerobic exercises, more cardio based. So like walking, running, biking, being in nature, having meaningful relationships, not superficial ones, meditating, laughing, getting a massage, having hobbies and pursuing it, whether it be in arts and crafts. It could be singing. It could be, I don't know, if you love investing in stocks, like whatever brings you joy, and you feel like you're investing in the long term of yourself, that's a great hobby for serotonin. And adventures, like when you go hiking or mountain climbing, right? Like anything that you feel like you're expanding and growing and learning also produces serotonin. Activities that boost dopamine there's a little bit of overlap, but meditation, getting enough sleep, music, cold water, eating healthy proteins like nuts and berries. Um, but also I say it's a little bit, sometimes be careful about it, because activities that boost dopamine are also sex, shopping, swiping, like when you're swiping on social media and swiping on the apps, and matching with people, and junk food. So we have to be mindful of, what are some of the activities that we would want that sustains more, healthy levels of dopamine, healthy exercises that enable dopamine versus things that could, because you need more and more units of it, could actually get us down to a rabbit hole, right? So my suggestion is fill yourself with serotonin and then add the dopamine. So I've historically done, I think back now, growing up, I probably much more focused on dopamine, like the short-term reward, short-term pleasure, feels good, go for it. Following the joy in a very short-term reward system based. It's only, I would say, the last couple of years that I really realized, wow, like it's actually more sustainable to have more activities or the foods I eat that boost my serotonin. And then the dopamine is the icing on top, right? I think embracing more a state of ease and calm. I've seen a huge difference in even the production, the way I feel, the way I think, health levels. And then the dopamine is just the icing on the cake to just, we all need some sort of reward, short term hits, but just not feel like we are addicted to it. And I know a lot of people have been asking about like, oh, like what are some activities I can do for joy or self-care? At this whole topic of like the happy chemicals and what's good for like long-term um, happiness and long-term health and joy, I'm actually going to do a separate episode on self-care and the misconceptions of self-care. Again, the episode will be much more focused on long-term solutions for sustaining self-care versus, the short-term things that we might sometimes see on social media, which again focuses more on dopamine hit than actually producing more serotonin. And then lastly, this is the fun part. We've talked about stress, right? We've talked about why we stress, fun facts about stress. And then to counteract that, we talked about the happy hormones and some of the ways that we can produce more of it. Let's get down to the nitty gritty of the solutions to be unstressed. I'm really big on, okay, here, great. We've identified a problem. Let's get down to the solution. So I've broken this up. I want to spend a lot of time on solutions because there's so many ways that we can manage our stress, and it's not everyone has different ways of doing it, but I want to be able to share, at least a very holistic way of looking at all the ways you can manage your stress. And so I've separated into a few categories. So first is manage your schedule. Okay. So what exactly, or do I mean? We hear this a lot, but let's put this to practice, right? You come first. You heard me right. You come first. You can't pour from an empty cup. Okay. You can't produce, you can't help other people, you can't be there for your loved ones if you aren't full, right? So it is not selfish. It is absolutely necessary. And it's something that you have to, again, it takes time to build a habit, but you need to start really understanding, believing this, that you have to come first. So your physical, your mental, and spiritual health all have to be on the best state before you kind of pack your day, right? So what I recommend to my clients and my circle of influence is you on your schedule, when you have an agenda, you schedule all the stuff for yourself first, whether it's for your health, your mental health, it's for your spiritual health, like putting it all on your calendar, and then you put your external obligations and meetings and requirements after. Okay. You cannot put self-care last. It doesn't mean you have to do it the first thing in the morning. Like say, it's really, you have to get in the office by 7 a.m. and you already have a commute. And after you do your morning meditations and your morning routine, it's really hard for you to hit the gym, and you have kids and, you want to be able to see them, bring them to school. You can go to the gym at night, right? But you need to schedule that gym time before anything else on a daily basis. You have to come first. So that's number one. Second is so important, and it needs to get through to a lot of people. You are not worth more because you produced more. Contrary to what you've been taught. I'm sorry, if there's no health, none of your accomplishments mean anything. If you're not living, none of the shit matters. Okay. So you cannot put your health, your mental, physical, as we talked about, the gut mind connection is really, really, really strong. Okay. You have to care for yourself first. And you can't, and I always used to do this, think, okay, how many more things can I crank out? How can I jam pack my day? How can I crank out this one other report? How can I bring on another meeting, right? You have to trust your body, and you can't constantly push your body to the limit. And we've talked about it. Putting your body and not sympathetic state, you are you're creating toxins in your body by putting yourself in that stressful state, right? So listen to your body. That's something that we have to be better at. We've been trained how to listen to our mind, but not our body. You need to slow down and listen to your body of when it's had enough. And that report has to be done tomorrow. That meeting has to be done tomorrow, which means that you have to create more space in your agenda. So I used to be like this. I would pack my day. Literally, I would even pack breaks. I'm probably like, here's a coffee break, here's a bathroom break. It was crazy, right? What happens? I obviously overextended myself, and life is not like, okay, I have my, how many times does your calendar, your daily to do, and the calendar and the time and everything of every day is actually done on time on that day? It's never. You wake up and like life happens, right? There's 15 other higher priority things you have to finish. So your list of to do gets higher, or you have to reprioritize. It's important to obviously put in and schedule the you time that has to come first. But when it comes to other obligations and everything else that you have to do, you need to create more space between your meetings. Like I used to be back to back meetings. I would probably give myself like 5 or 10 minutes to run from one meeting to next. You're going to stress yourself out because naturally, if you're having good meeting, things are going to run over, right? Naturally, things are going to come up. Not only do you stress yourself out and oversend yourself, the second thing is I missed out on a lot of joy. I missed out on a lot of like blessings because I literally didn't stop to smell the roses. I was just on like pilot mode of just do that like there might have been a beautiful sunshine. It could have been someone walking down the street that I could have missed. It could have been, there's so many times where I walk down the street and I'm like, I had my friends have to jump out on the street to be like, Jess, because I'd be, when I'm commuting, when I'm going from meeting to another meeting, I would be busy listening to a podcast. I was like, no off button, right? So the benefits of literally creating more space, or I would say make a room for miracles during your day, is A, you're able to experience the miracles. You can see them because you're not just, laser focused into every little thing and detail that you want to crank out. And secondly, you don't overstress yourself. All of us are guilty of stressing out about being late to a meeting, right? So if you give yourself more travel time and or you make the meetings ideally shorter, but there's only so short meetings can be, find a way that works for you that you're not overextending yourself. That it's extremely important for managing your stress. Um, a second thing is, no, sorry, third thing is minimize stressors. Like little things like having a very aggressive alarm doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you have that and then you get cut off during your commute, and then your boss calls you and adds another tight deadline for tomorrow, all these little micro stressors put together will get you to blow up, right? So think about like as you go about your day, think about the things that like stress you out even a little bit, and then remove them. For example, the alarm clock. My alarm clock used to be so aggressive. It's like the default mode on the iPhone. I've changed it, something that's more gradual. I've changed it so it's like more like birds chirping or like a sound of a waterfall. But think about little things that stress you out, or like before you go to bed, right? What you watch, it's so true. Like you probably end up dreaming about it. You're stressing about it. Your brain is the most like a sponge, and your subconscious is most open when you're about to fall asleep and then when you're about to wake up, right? So whatever you're listening and doing at that time will cause you to like it will really go into your subconscious. So if you're watching like scary movies, like or stressful news events or fake news or social media stuff, right? That are very traumatizing before you go to bed, you're literally putting your body through stress. So just think about the little things you do and find ways to remove even micro stressors so that your body and your mind can actually handle real stress you can't predict. Okay. That's important. And then another thing I want to highlight when it comes to managing your schedule, right? Make time and bake in time to be with nature. So we are all from nature. We're all from Mother Nature. That's natural, right? Cities, systems, all this stuff is man made. That's why, when we go on vacation, we oftentimes want to go be in nature, want to be by the water, want to be on the beach. And it's so relaxing because that's, again, our natural state. It's ease, is joy. So every day, find some way to be in nature. It could literally just be walking barefoot in Central Park for a little bit, or Bryant Park during a break. It could be just literally getting some fresh air by West Side or East Side Highway. Or, obviously when you're on vacation, find more times to be by nature. Or like, if you have a backyard, gardening, right? Or planting, touching soil, things like that. Being with nature is definitely extremely calming. And when you walk barefoot on grass and on wood soil, it actually helps cleanse a lot of your energy. So look up, like, kind of do some research on all the ways that you can kind of reconnect more with nature and find more calming ways to interact with nature. Again, for those of you that are interested in self-care and how to leverage Mother Nature, again, which is natural and where we came from, with self-care, I'm going to do a separate episode on that because y'all need it and y'all keep asking for it. So I will do it. Now let's talk about mindset. We just covered how to manage your schedule. Like, I'm very much, as you can tell, action oriented. Like, what are some things we can do to manage our schedule? Let's talk mindset now, okay? And how we can mitigate stress or reduce stress with our mindset. You need to drop trying to control everything because you can't control anything, to be honest. You can only control your actions and your reactions. You can't control your people. There's a lot of things outside your control, right? And you trying to micromanage everything is what's stressing you out. Instead, you need to trust the power of the present moment right now, right? And how you act and react is going to create whatever best outcome that you need, right? You have to trust in the guidance of divine timing. You have to trust in the guidance that things are happening as they are and things are happening at the exact right moment. So think of the times when you try to rush something, right? When you force someone to get an answer, when you keep following up with the client and ultimately it actually, that pressure caused them to be like, oh, I don't want to take the service, right? There's nothing good that comes out of force, and it definitely doesn't sustain long term. You have to flow, you have to trust. So the mindset is much more about being quiet so you can hear the whispers of your soul and your spirit and hearing the guidance of your soul versus constantly trying to control everything and not having a clear GPS system because you're not sure what to do, right? You were born knowing exactly who you are and what to do, where to be, who to spend time with. It's just reconnecting with yourself and letting all that outside noise out. Okay. That's why meditation, there's so many benefits to it, but like meditation, even sitting in music or silence with yourself just to hear your inner voice, that's your compass, that's your GPS. So be much more focused on the guidance in here than the chitter chatter out there or even in your mind. Again, have your brain work for you. Ask your brain and say, what are the things I should accomplish today for my highest good? What should I focus on? What does my body need? Help me think of ways to accomplish XYZ, right? Really trust that inner guidance versus trying to control everything. When you trust that things are happening at the right time, at the right moment with the right people, you're not going to be, you don't feel the need to play puppet because you can't play puppet anyway, right? A second thing is, this is a big one. I talked about this before, how treating every day, treating your city, living like you're on vacation, right? Similar to that, I want you to treat every day like it's your opportunity to meet your dream client, to meet your dream opportunity, to meet your dream lover, to meet an amazing new connection, right? What happens when you expect amazing things to happen? You know, take care of yourself more. You dress a little bit better. There's more pep in your step. I want you to walk out of your door every single day like you're expecting miracles, like you're expecting amazing things to happen to you, because what you expect is what you get, right? Again, it's all energy. It's like when you're putting out this positive high energy, you're going to attract it back. And a lot of the bad energy, it's repellent. You repel when you're vibrating high, you kind of repel. And it's, you know how they say like misery loves company? Same thing. Misery doesn't like people who are happy and chirpy. So by you staying high vibe in a good state, you're going to attract more of that and repel the things that are on the same wavelength as you, which we would want, right? So treat every day like a playground, like an experiment, and have fun. That's a mindset versus trying to control everything, right? What's leading up to that is following your joy, right? Like serotonin actually helps your body relax, chill, rejuvenate yourself. So find ways to inject happiness, inject gratitude, being present, and follow what gives you long term joy. Really follow that serotonin. Um, how to reduce cortisol and increase oxytocin? Just talk about what you want and feel what you want, right? You don't have to tell it to every people, right? You don't have to tell it to someone. You can just tell it to yourself. Tell yourself, talk about, envision, think about, have very vivid visions. Created if you guys are into dream boards, do that. But like really focus your energy and thoughts in that ideal vision you want and let your body feel as if you have it. Because when you are feeling, say you have this, there's this dream, say this dream penthouse you want, right? I want you to envision yourself in detail of the penthouse, you being inside it, what it feels like, who would be there. Because when you teach your body how to feel what it's like to have that thing, you're basically imprinting your body to say, this is the state I want to operate at. And when you operate at this stage, right, again, you're going to increase, you're going to bring in more opportunities. You're going to bring in more things that get you closer and closer to that ideal vision that you want, right? But you have to be in that state of mind. You have to embody those feelings as if you have it in order to bring more of it in, right? So really feel, so reduce the cortisol, increase oxytocin, feel and really envision the things that you want and focus on that, not what you don't want, because that creates more stress. Focus on what you want. By focusing what you want, what you don't want is going to go away because you don't put any energy or thought into it, right? And the last thing when it comes to mindset is I understand it can be quite stressful going into social settings. And there's sometimes, or even work settings where you just can't avoid, right? There's conferences, there's meetings, there's maybe some social events that you just, for whatever reason, can't skip. All right. But it gives you anxiety. And especially now when there's obviously a lot going on in the world, everyone has their own thoughts, their own opinions. And sometimes, while we all ultimately want the same things as humans, sometimes it's expressed in different ways. And, for many different reasons, um, social media, technology, whatever, wants to create more tension amongst different groups. And sometimes it's hard to find connection. And sometimes when you walk into a social setting, it may be already very tense and angry, and it's not enjoyable, right? So, what are some things or mindsets or things you can do before walking into a social setting? So, this is a few things that I suggest, and it takes a little bit of spirituality, it takes mindset, it takes more, like I would say, also, physical charms and beads, but take what resonates with you, obviously, do what feels right. You can kind of create your own based on, maybe get an inspiration or idea from what I'm going to share. But having an amulet or having it could be a lucky charm from the lineage. It could be a heirloom. It could be, like, for example, an evil eye, right? So anything like that, like an amulet of protection, whatever resonates with you, bring it with you, right? It is a level of protection, and also psychologically when you that's why when you're little you also have like a blanket, right? Bring something that's going to make you feel safe and calm you, and it could be crystals, it could be beads, whatever kind of resonates with you. That's something I would first suggest, like have something with you of protection. Secondly, is this really works, every time I walk into a setting that I feel like it can get a little bit, not so high vibe. And I want to be clear, jealousy, envy, that's also not high vibe, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be like toxic, very bad energy. Something as like envy, jealousy, even someone's sadness, right, could affect you, right? So what I do is I imagine before I walk in a social setting, I imagine myself, I close my eyes, I imagine myself just being like lit up like a beam of light. Like there's literally light all over me. And that's like the positive energy that I emit out, right? At the same time, there's like this transparent bubble that is like around me. And that bubble protects me from unwanted, vibrations. So something you can say is, I emit positivity and light, and I attract only positivity and light. Any negative or lower vibrations that are directed towards me just bounce off of me and go back to the sender. That's something really powerful. And you say it out loud, you say it to yourself, and imagining yourself just being protected by this bubble. That's something that really you just feel so, I would say, grounded and rooted, especially for those of you who are quite spiritual. You can add your own flavor into it. But I think the one really important thing to remember is this whole mantra, this whole meditation, it's just reminding you what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. And be very firm in that, right? If someone's has very positive energy, of course, take it, and it's a conscious choice. But we're being conscious about the energy we're taking in, and we're just not going to absorb with people's like negativity or whining or whatever it may be. That's a great way to kind of energetically protect yourself from social settings, right? Um, and I would say whenever you will get at a social setting, of course you're gonna get approached, you're gonna have to deal with different interactions, right? When something kind of, again, someone says something that's kind of like off color, makes you feel uncomfortable, you can say into your head, like, what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours, right? When you feel yourself about to like meet them in their level, whether it be being negative or having a nasty comment back, you're allowed to pause, take a breath, and then you know, say whatever you want to say from your heart. But I think it's really important. All this kind of level setting and mindset stuff just reminds you that like you're not a reactor, you're a creator. So whenever you respond to someone, come from a place that you're proud of and that's of your integrity. And there's nothing that should get you out of your character, right? Nothing. And that's kind of something that I would say it comes with time and practice, but at least a good way to energetically separate yourself from other people, say maybe lower vibrations, right? Now, the last part I want to talk about is physical release, like physically releasing stress. There's so many different ways. So let's talk about the breath. You guys know from the last two episodes and from the line experience, the recent one this summer, breathing. I've been so fascinated with breathing and I'm learning so much about the power of our breath. Okay. So let's talk about that and how that helps with stress. So the vagus nerve is responsible for communication between our brain and our gut. Keep talking about this, right? The vagus nerve is responsible for digestion, our heart rate, as well as breathing. Okay. So by playing with your breath, you can actually, in a way, control your vagus nerve and trigger calmness in your vagus nerve and get into the parasympathetic state of ease and calm. How cool is that, right? So think about when you're in danger, right? You're like shallow breathing, right? That's why if you want to be in a state of calm, you want to do deep breaths from your diaphragm or from like kind of like near where your belly is. Because again, when you're in stress, your shallow breath, you're breathing out of here, right? What you want to do is breathe out of your stomach, like your lower diaphragm. That's where you're actually creating more ease and calm, right? So deep breaths in the diaphragm signal safety, and do this for 3 to 5 minutes. Now there's two breathing easy techniques. There's so many, but here are two easy techniques that like you just need to like chill out for whatever reason. Breathing in for 4 seconds. You could hold for 4 if you want or not, and then breathe out for 6. Okay. So what's important about this? When you breathe out, breathing in actually can stress a little bit of your body because you're inhaling sometimes like not toxins, but you're actually putting in more into your body to process. But breathing out relaxes you because it also removes CO2. Okay. So by breathing in shorter duration and breathing out longer, you're actually getting your body into calmer state. So breathing in for 4, breathing out for 6 calms you. Okay. Secondly, really cool. Again, remember, breathing also affects the vagus nerve, which is also in charge of not only breathing but digestion. This breathing pattern has also proven to help people with their bowel movements. So they've done studies where they had two control groups. One ate like shitty fast food, one ate healthy food. And the fast food people actually had to breathe in and breathe out, like, had this technique, and they had normal bowel movements, right? So it just shows you that it's important what you put in, but like you can actually control with your breath, your digestion, which is super, super cool. So again, breathing in 4, breathing out 6 is one technique to chill out. Second one is you want to mimic crying. So when you're crying, you're like, and you like kind of like breathe in twice and then you breathe out. So why does this work? Crying actually is a way for your body to release a stress. That's why crying is also another thing that you should do. Crying creates a sympathetic state. So by mimicking that, going 2 breaths in, like in, and then 1 long out is stress reducing because you're mimicking crying. Very cool, right? So we've grown up being like, don't cry, blah, blah, blah. You should absolutely cry. If you need to cry, release it because that's how you actually reduce your stress. It's great. It's your body's natural self-soothing technique. Wonderful. Cry all you want, get out of your system. Then let's talk about, everyone knows this. We all know this. We don't do it. Rest and sleep is more productive than cranking out more work and, cranking out the gym and whatnot. Okay. So what happens when we don't get enough sleep? We create an active amygdala, right? Also kind of the fight or flight element. So you're pumping stress into the brain. So remember that stress also impacts our digestion and our organs, so it can't rest. So when you are stressed out, you can't sleep, you're actually also impacting a lot of your digestion, right? It's only when we sleep that we're able to really let our organs do its cleaning shift and remove toxins. Because when your organs are active, they don't have time. They're busy kind of digesting. They're busy keeping you alive. They don't have that cleaning crew available. Cleaning crew comes in, helps you rejuvenate your cells, clean out the bad cells. All that happens at night. So you need that, right? You really need to have that proper sleep. And also the gut lining repair also happens at night. Very important for your microbiome health as well. Let's talk about those who are like, oh, well, I have enough sleep, I want to work out. Stress, actually, think about this. When our body is stressed out, we contract to protect ourselves, right? When we relax, we're expanding and heal. Think about when you go to a massage and you're removing tension, you're basically letting your body expand and get bigger, right? So when your body's in stress and you're pumping your body hard, like doing high intensity interval training, lifting heavy, you're pumping more cortisol, you're tightening your muscles, you're pumping more cortisol in your body. It's actually worse for stress. So if anything, if you haven't slept well, you can do a light walk, you can do restorative yoga, but anything intense is actually counterproductive to reducing stress. Good to know. And another thing that I've been very religious about is stretching. And not just like a 5-minute stretch after workout, like a 15, 30-minute stretch. Stretching also releases tension. It also helps get you in a parasympathetic state. And it also, for those of you, when you feel kind of like tightness in the chest, that's oftentimes anxiety, right? Stretching it out, physically stretching it out also helps remove a lot of that physical tension in your body, right? And let's talk about a little bit, jumping back a little bit on sleep, circadian rhythm. We all have the same 24-hour cycle. Okay. People who are like, oh, I'm a night owl. Like I get better ideas at night. I am definitely a night owl. I definitely get better ideas at night, but all our bodies have the same 24-hour circadian rhythm. Why is that important? Every single body part goes through the same kind of rejuvenation cycle. And from our organs, they have the same 24 hours. It's very healthy and it's good for you to really try to match like going to bed when the sun's out, rising with the sun, following the natural rhythm. Again, we're from Mother Nature. Everything happens in divine order, in divine timing. Following this actually can improve your health as little as 6 weeks. Okay. Again, similar to that cleaning crew I mentioned, there's certain times your body needs to do its, cleaning. Um, the importance about the circadian rhythm is it's really consistency. So when you're consistently sleeping around the same time, which is like around within 2 hours, waking and sleeping within the same, like within 2 hours every single day, actually reduces stress in your body because your body knows what to expect. So your body actually wakes up, like I think it was about 2 hours before you actually wake up, because it's getting ready to get you in a state, right? Your heart actually slows down when you're sleeping. So when your body knows, okay, this is like around the time it's supposed to get up, your heart will start naturally picking up its speed to kind of get you ready for the day. So you actually help your body get in more calm and ease when you're consistently sleeping and eating within the same 2 hours, right? Ideally, you sleep as close to 10 p.m. as possible. And ideally, you wake when the sun's out, right? Of course, everyone has their own lifestyle, own schedule, but it's just, these are just, again, good things to know when it comes to your natural body, and we all follow the same rhythm. So, getting as close to the circadian rhythm as possible is very good for your body, helps decrease stress. And then the other thing about eating, a lot of us have heard about like intermittent fasting, why that's important, right? So same thing, when you eat in a tighter window, you give your body more time to clean and remove toxins, right? So eating within 12 hours is great. Eating within 8 hour window is wonderful. Eating within 6 is optimal. Okay. So try to compress your eating window to really allow, again, your body to clean, the detox, and get rid of all the things that it doesn't really get to do when you're constantly eating and digesting. Few more things physically that are actually fun. So shake it off. Okay. We've heard this before, like dancing improves our mood, like shaking our hips, we reduce the stress. So if you look at the animal kingdom, for example, zebras, when, after they've been like, after they've been chased by a predator, for example, right? To reduce their stress, they actually shake off every body part. They shake things off. Kind of when you work out, after you work out, some of the trainers tell you to pat things out or shake things out. Physically shaking out every single body part actually removes your stress. Remember, again, it takes 90 seconds for all those stress chemicals that were produced to get out of your body. Shaking it off actually physically helps you, not only physically, but mentally rid of that stress. So when you go through something stressful, literally shake it off. That helps you get back to that parasympathetic or calm state. Another one is lovely. It's relaxing with a hug for 20 seconds and breathing in deeply is really calming, and it reduces your stress. If you can't hug someone that's like, you don't live with anybody, or you can't hug someone during the day, you can hug yourself as well. That's also a way to like give yourself self-love and calm yourself down. And last thing I'll leave you with is let's talk about symptoms. So some of us, run to get a Tylenol, run to get this hurts, that hurts, and we just want to like remove the pain. So pain and symptoms in the body are actually a gift because it's telling you something is off balance, right? It's asking for attention, kind of like a baby that can't talk is just crying. You can run through the list of things that a baby might need. And for humans, it's very, I mean, if you would simplify, is are you eating well? Are you eating healthy? Are you sleeping enough? Are you reducing your stress? Do you have a positive mindset, a sense of purpose? The list is not that long, right? So whenever, just be thankful when you have symptoms, because symptoms remind you that, hey, I'm just, again, like alarm about war, like letting you know something's off. And again, we've been taught so much to trust our mind and overuse our mind that we don't enough trust our bodies. Our bodies are all knowing. When you have a cut, your body knows naturally to close it. Your heart beats without you telling it to, right? Your digestion is working with or without your like, hey, digestion, please work on it. Our bodies are naturally healing, and they're constantly trying to get us back to homeostasis. So something you can do when you have going through any kind of aches or pain or physical stress is like literally, again, sit there in silence, feel your body and literally do a body scan, like close your eyes and like go from head all the way down to every part and see where there's pain, right? Wherever there's pain, say there's like something in your chest, right? Literally ask your body, what do you need? Body, how can I serve you right now? Body, what are some things I should remove to help you remove this pain? Listen to your body because your body really, really knows. And also, another technique is feel into the area that hurts and imagine what it would feel like without pain and feel it as if there's not pain, and then focus on another area that actually doesn't have pain. So kind of remind yourself what it feels like to have ease. That's a great to also kind of mitigate a little bit of the pain. But the most important thing again is to get to the root, get to why there could be certain pains or tightness or discomfort in the body. Ask your body what's going on. Okay, that's definitely a very powerful step. Now, I know that hopefully was extremely comprehensive, and I definitely want to take the time to do a more longer episode because this is extremely, extremely important. Like, we are nothing without our health, our mental, physical, spiritual health. And so, just to recap what we went through today, we went through why we stress, why it's there, helpful stress facts. Third is happy chemicals, how to produce more of it. And then lots and lots and lots of solutions to how to stay unstressed, which hopefully at least a handful of these will serve you guys. And for those of you that really want to dive deeper, want to understand, like I created this because I'm the kind of person where I'm like, just give me the cliff notes, give me the highlights. And for those of you who really want to dive into this and like understand more about the mind body connection, circadian rhythm, all that fun stuff, few resources I want to recommend that were super helpful and very like it was scientific, but it was to a point where everything was still very digestible, understandable. So first is the book called Unstressed by Mo Gaudet, who's a former chief business officer for Google X. So he had a really cool story where obviously worked at Google, high-powered job, um, fortunately lost his son, and he knew his son's wish was for him to spread happiness. And of course, he wrote books on happiness, but then, what was deterring happiness was stress. So he actually wrote this book called Unstressable with Alice Law, who's a stress management consultant and also a Reiki master. And so two of them together cover stress. And it's so beautiful because Mo is so left brain engineering and he kind of like creates a formula for everything, and which is a really great balance with Alice, who's more spiritual, who's more had her own journey and her own story about losing her father, and how that's changed her mindset about stress and how to live life more in flow versus control. And it's a very beautiful book because you get to see both the left and right brain come together, and they both I listened to the audiobook version, which was just hearing their voices, having their personalities come to light. It was absolutely beautiful and transformative. And the book gets way, way, way in depth into like the different types of stress, the backgrounds behind it. So for those of you that really, really want to dive in, I highly recommend the book Unstressable. Two other podcasts that I loved. First is Dr. Will, I'm not going to butcher it, Will Bolshevich, or they call him Dr. B. So he's a gastroenterologist, and he did a podcast on the School of Greatness about the mind and the gut connection, the power of a microbiome. He's great, and Dr. B has also written a lot of books, so I recommend reading some of his work as well. He also has a really cool and fun story of how he, figured out gut health through his own journey, not through school, even though, he studied this. And then the last resource I recommend is there's a podcast on Jay Shetty's podcast with Dr. Casey Means, who has a book called Good Energy. And given her schooling and what she's went through before, she kind of demystifies a lot of the healthcare system and how we are so inundated with all this information. And given all this information, we're still getting sicker and sicker and not healthier. And she really simplifies how our body works. Again, she was powered by her own story with her mother, who she sadly lost. And she kind of had a wake-up call of how the system may not be working in our favor in the best way possible, and how to really trust our bodies when it comes to healing and health. So Dr. Casey Means, her book called Good Energy, I really recommend that. But I would say those three were, of all the things I read and kind of dug into, those three really stuck out. And it really helped shape a lot of this conversation today about health, about mindset. And so I hope you guys are now more armed, feeling more prepared, not scared, just aware, and now more able to make better decisions for your body, for your stress, and enjoy your summer and get in that parasympathetic state.